Hey, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So our last session, we were discussing about some Linux commands, right? So what are the commands we talked about? We talked about starting with a package installation by using DNF command. So using DNF install, you can install a package. And prior to that, we used to use YUM command, RPM command, like I mentioned. That's okay, but latest it is DNF. So we'll be using DNF. And the after that, we talked about service management. There'll be list of services, by the way, and we are going to manage those particular services. And going forward, by the way, when the project comes in, we get into a requirement of creating our own service requirement as well. Okay. And after that, how to add a users. We talked about user add command, and after that, the permission section is there. So we talked about chown command, modifying the permission of a file, and whereas changing the not permission, by the way, ownership of a file, and whereas chmod command, which is going to change the permission of a file, which is whether someone can read, someone can write, okay, someone can execute. Okay, that permissions is actually being modified by this particular command. Okay, so mostly chmod we may not use it. Chown is generally use it. So because we things, I mean things while we run the applications and all, we need to set the permission, set the ownerships of that particular files and all to an appropriate user. So we're going to use that. So with this, we'll enter into the last part of the Linux things, by the way. So which is networking. Okay, an introduction to the networking or how the things are working here. And based on that, okay, I mean, anyhow, later couple of sessions will come exclusively for network design of the cloud and all. Okay, you will get it. We'll talk about it. But for now, so we're going to talk about, okay, how Amazon is actually dealing with the network. Okay, comparing with how the networking is happening in our home, by the way. If you understand the home network, okay, so then company thing is not a big deal, by the way. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. So let's go and try to go and understand how it is happening in our home. Okay. So this is your home network. And in home network, how are you doing, by the way? So, I mean, there is, can we understand there is a globe kind of a thing? Okay. So that means like the whole world is actually, uh, whole world is there. And in this whole world, okay, you belong to a country. And so where you have some sort of ISP provider kind of a thing, right? So that means you're having an ISP provider. Okay. Now this ISP provider is the guy who is actually plugging you to the internet. Okay. This is internet, right? Internet means you can connect to any website, I mean anything inside the world, by the way. So that is called as internet. Now let's assume this is an internet. Okay. Now what is actually the ISP guy is doing is they are helping you to get into the internet. Okay. How they are doing that? So they are doing that with by giving a Wi-Fi, I mean, basically like, so they will pull one cable. Okay. So here, network cable. So they'll try to pull, so some sort of a cable, by the way. All right. So something, this is the best one to address. Well, so he will just try to get one cable from the internet and keep it to your Wi-Fi router, by the way. Okay. So now that means he's going to go with yeah, the best example to understand. So he will get one cable and keep it into your Wi-Fi router. So that's what he will do, right? Now that means he's actually keeping the things under Wi-Fi router. Maybe we're calling Wi-Fi router. It could be a wide router as well if you're not using Wi-Fi. Okay, it can be anything. So he will put it to this kind of a device, by the way. So that cable is actually trying to keep it to this kind of a device. Why so low quality? Okay, so he will try to bring in and put the cable to this guy. Okay, he'll put the cable to this. Now after this, what you're going to have? You're going to have your okay, laptop, mobile, okay, all those particular things. You're going to connect it from here. You connected your laptop, you connected your mobile, okay, maybe a TV. So all those particular things you've been connecting to this particular Wi-Fi router. Okay. So these are connected to this particular Wi-Fi router. So this is how you're getting. So that means the same setup is having in my home as well. Right now in my home, so I'm having the same thing. So I have an ISP provider guy who has given me a cable to a Wi-Fi router. This current laptop is actually connected to that particular Wi-Fi router. So that's where, okay, now these particular devices will connect with an address, by the way. So that means each and every laptop, mobile, and every guy will get one address, IP address. Okay. So we also got one IP address, by the way. We also got one IP address. So how, I mean, I can just go here, I can check it out. What is that IP address? The Wi-Fi. So if I go to the details, by the way, so you can see this, I got one IP address which is called as 192.168.1.182. So this is the real IP address of my machine. Okay. So that means my Wi-Fi router, in order to communicate, by the way, so they're actually trying to give one IP address. And with that IP address, okay, so your Wi-Fi router is actually managing you to give you the internet. That is what it is. It is sharing you the internet with that particular address. Now, however, okay, if I go and try to, look into the outside world, okay, if I go into look into the outside world, so what is happening there is, so what is my IP address? If I go and type what is my IP address, then you will see a different IP address. What is IP address you are seeing? 49.205.248.17. But my actual IP address is 192.168.1, this series. But when I look from the outside world, okay, that means like this web page is one of this particular web page. He is actually coming from this perspective. Now, this guy is actually sitting on the other side of the world. Okay. So what is this? What is my IP address.com? Okay. So this guy is actually trying to access my laptop. Okay. So then, so when you actually open this particular address in your laptop, so that means basically you just went and, so hit this particular guy address, and that guy actually trying to reach your laptop from the internet, and he's identifying your IP address is 49.205.248.17. That means you're being exposed to the internet. Okay, you're being exposed to the internet, by the way, with one IP address, and how many devices you are having does not really matter. And device IP address is not being exposed. And what is happening here is your Wi-Fi router, your ISP provider is actually trying to give you one connection, and that connection you are sharing between devices. but you took only one connection. Okay, so that is where now the IP address which comes on the so the devices where your Wi-Fi router will provide is called as private IP. Okay, so this is called as a private IP. The IP address which the ISP provider tried to provide, so this is called as a public IP. Okay, this range is accessible by the internet, and this range is only accessible within your home. That means within your home, you connect your laptop to mobile directly, by the way. Okay, now let's say someone from google.com, they can't connect to your laptop, or your laptop can't connect to some laptop which is sitting in google.com office or any other companies. So, or my laptop can't connect to your home, in your home, any one of you, like your home. Okay, laptop I'll not connect. I can't connect. That laptop can't connect to my laptop. Okay, directly talking about, like, so network part. So forget about all these apps and all, like, so these are all website apps and all, but just try to talk about, like, so the wiring part we're talking about, networking, right? So just the wiring part if you talk about, so you can't connect, by the way. Okay, so that is how, because this is all private network range. Now, what is private network range, and so how to define the network range, how to choose range. So we have another further coming topic, which is not a bother. But at this point of time, the important takeaway is, what is a public IP? The public IP is an IP address given by the ISP provider to plug you to the internet. That means each and every device in the world should have an IP address to communicate. That means you're accessing google.com, there is one IP address involved. You're actually hitting the IP address. Okay, maybe you're accessing, like, let's say miro.com, it's an IP address. So end of the day, it's an address. It's like a courier service, by the way. In your courier service, if there is an address, by the way, it will deliver, right? So the address must and should. Okay, so that's where this is how, so the public IP and private IP in your home, by the way. Now the same thing ultimately, let's compare with Amazon network. So now Amazon is actually doing what? Same thing, nothing difference. Okay, so here this is an Amazon network. Amazon network. Now in Amazon network, actually you'll not have laptops, mobiles and all. Okay, so the ISP provider. Now who is the ISP provider? This side is, this guy is a AWS itself is an ISP provider. This side, okay. Now let's say, the ISP providers, who is working on the retail perspective. That means, like, mine is Active Fiber Net or something like that. Okay, it is showing me Beam Telecom India or Beam Telecom Private Limited. So from India. But okay, so now Amazon is also a registered ISP provider, by the way, but he will serve only his cloud kind of a thing. He will not serve for the homes, offices. He don't deal with that. Okay, he deals with his own cloud services. So now that's where, if I search this particular IP, now the public IP which I got it, by the way, it is telling it is actually from Amazon data center. The ISP provider is Amazon Data Services. Okay, now AWS Amazon Data Services. Okay, so that is a registered guy actually. Okay, that means who is the internet provider here? Amazon itself is a ISP provider. He's going to give you to using some sort of a router. Now what he's trying to do is, your server is there. Okay, your server is there. So he is actually trying to, so map that particular IP address to your server. So that means it's a 1:1 ratio here. Okay, now the ratio over here is one IP address you are taking. Okay, so and one IP you are taking. So two NIPs. Okay, so NIPs you are translating. So that means, like, so one internet connection is equal to, okay, that means, like, what you are doing literally. So one public IP, many private IPs is happening here. So, okay, now each and every device you connect to your Wi-Fi router is many, by the way. But here it's going to be the 1:1 ratio. One IP is to one IP. That means one public IP, we point it to one private IP. Okay. That means you take one IP, public IP, you map it directly to the private IP of this one. So that means it is like, so you're taking separate internet connection for each and every server. You're literally taking a separate internet connection for each and every server, by the way. Okay. Now let's say in my home, 10 devices, I have 10 internet connections rather than you're taking one and so you sharing the internet, but this is all servers, by the way. Like, so, but by default, Amazon is giving, okay, 1:1 ratio. That means one whole internet connection will come for one server, by the way. So that's where for outside world, okay, anyone, whoever is communicating, now this is, okay, anyone from the outside world. Now let's say your putty, by the way. Now your putty or someone, whoever is trying to access your server, by the way. So how do you, okay, so how are you, okay, allowing is he will over the internet. Now your home network, your putty, by the way. Now from putty, you're going to have your, so putty is installed in your putty and in your laptop, and laptop is so connected to Wi-Fi router, and Wi-Fi router will connect to the ISP provider, and from there you're reaching this guy. Okay, so you have a putty. Okay, so we have a in your laptop, and that connects to the Wi-Fi and your ISP. That means you're in the globe, and there is an address now to reach, and that address, okay, your internet finds out that it belongs to Amazon. It reaches to Amazon, and so finally Amazon provider is giving 1:1 ratio. That means they have some information that this IP is pointing to this private IP, and all the ways it reaches to that particular server. Now the server real IP address is the private IP only. If you really talk about, is only a public IP address which is mapped for the outside world to communicate. Okay, which is temporary. And even we'll go into a world, or we go into a scenario one day in such a way that no public IPs also, no public IP will come into the picture as a standard practice in the organization. Because I mean, like, so think about a company, they are having 1,000 laptops. They will not take 1,000 connections, right? They have 1,000 servers. They'll not take 1,000 internet connections. It doesn't make sense. Okay, now applies to the Amazon as well. Now by default, it is working this way. Okay, they have to start that way for a beginners and all. Okay, so that's where, or even we are a beginner, we're starting that way. Now if it's an organization, I'll not start this way. No public IP at all will come into picture in the organizations. Okay, so it's all interconnections only, internal connections only. Okay, so sitting in my laptop, okay, I should be accessing this particular IP address directly. Yes, we can do that. Okay, just by giving the private IP address in my putty also, we can connect to this guy. How to do that and all later, we'll talk about that little. Okay, so connection thing is there, so we'll talk about that, but for now you can ignore this, right? So this is what is the private IP. This is the okay, this is the public IP, this is the private IP. This is what is they're doing a mapping. They're literally giving an internet connection. Now you start a server, they give you an internet connection. You stop the server, they'll take away that internet connection. That's it. Okay, so this is how we are actually going to deal with are dealing with, by the way, the network. So that's where the public IP is coming, the private IP is coming. Now, when you log into the server, okay, let me log into the server. And if you look into the IP address, by the way, SSH EC2 user, this IP address. Now, if I want to know the IP address of the system, so then what I'm doing is IP space A. Okay, IP space A is a command which is going to help you in finding out the IP address. So now what is the IP address? 172.31.20.139. The same information is actually available in Amazon side also. Okay, AWS console also is showing that. Server also it is showing. So they're just filling that, finding that information and fetching it. That's it. Okay, so this is the actual IP address. But however, here I have just given some prompt as well to easily identify from the prompt what is a private IP address, what is a public IP address. This public IP address will fetch it from here, and we are going to, okay, so I'm just trying to display it over here, some customizing prompt. This will help in certain scenarios. Okay. All right. So that's about what is a public IP and what is a private IP and how are we reaching the private IP, by the way. So later someday, using the same putty, how do you reach the private IP directly? We'll talk about again. Okay. But for now, this is the scenario, this is the setup, and we're talking about this. This is what is a public IP and this is what is a private IP. Any questions on this before another command? So IP space A on the server is a command that will help you in giving the list of IP addresses you have in the system. So you got this. Yeah. Any questions? Please go ahead.
Hi Raghu, good morning.
Yeah.
Raghu, I have a question here. When we say that start and stop the services, does the public IP is going to be static or dynamic?
Now let's go to your home, by the way. Now you closed an internet connection and you take a new connection. You get the same IP or a different IP.
So when we take a new, definitely we'll get a new IP, I think.
So here also the same thing. So you're starting a server, a new connection will come to you. So that means IPs will change. Now, even you close IP, so let's say you close the connection, you take the connection, you can negotiate the ISP provider saying that I want the same IP. If it is available, he will give it to you, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
it's something like that. So negotiation can happen here as well. Okay, forget about that for now. So
Sure.
okay, it's a new connection, the IPs will change.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. I don't see any more hands. If anyone have any question, you need to click on that hand button, which you see it on the Zoom, by the way, so that I'll come to know you have a question and you'll get an option to talk. Any questions on the network? All right, so moving on. Now, these servers, by the way, okay, so these servers, whatever Amazon provides, and if someone is actually trying to access it, by the way, they don't allow you, okay, directly, by the way. So there is something in between, it will come into picture, so which is called as a firewall. Okay, so the traffic, they just simply will not allow you like this. Okay, so they're protecting your server, by the way. They're going to protect your server, and protection of the servers, okay, will be done by using firewall. Okay, so the firewall is the one which is actually protecting this particular server. Now it has to cross this guy. It has to cross this guy, and this guy will be sending the traffic to this. Now this is a firewall. So firewall will have rules, by the way. Firewall will have rules. Okay, whom to allow, okay, whom to deny, something like that. Okay, so now AWS deals, like, generally talking about this one. Okay, so generally in the firewalls, in general context, if you look in, so they'll have a rules like, so saying allow or deny. Okay, now, so in AWS, by the way, so it will have only allow, by the way. By default, everyone it will deny. It will allow only who is supposed to be allowed. Amazon is dealing that way. Any firewall, okay, general firewalls, by the way, general firewall softwares will have an option to general firewalls will have an option to both choose allow, whom to deny. But here Amazon will deal with only whom to allow, by the way, they'll not deny the things. Okay, you can give one IP address and only that one IP address you want to deny the traffic, but so you can't do that. But whereas one IP address you only would like to allow. Okay, so that means this private IP address, okay, this private server is allowing you to reach from putty. So putty, you're trying to reach to this guy, okay, this private IP address, okay, that is means it is actually crossing the firewall. The putty is actually, okay, I'll just keep it as a dotted line because it's not a straightforward thing. So I will say I'll put it in dotted lines. So that means your putty is actually reaching your server. That means more or less you're actually having a firewall rule allowing you to access that server. Okay, where is it? Now you go to the server, you have a security to that particular server, and the security is telling that, so yes. So port number 22, you allow anyone, by the way. The 000 means the whole big zero, you can understand. This is the whole big zero. This is called as 0000. Okay, the whole world, the whole internet is represented by, okay, the whole internet representation. Okay, the whole internet representation. So how do you do that? 0.0.0.0/0. The whole representation of the internet will happen with, okay, something called as this. So 0.0.0.0. So that's where here, what is the rule which is allowed by Amazon? It is telling that, so port number 22, you allow to everyone. Now, what is this port number? Now, the next thing what we're going to talk about is a port. What is this port and why is it needed? It's very simple. Okay, to understand, maybe let's talk about some real world example. Now, let's say there is a courier. Okay, now courier connection or courier is there or courier network is there. Now, the courier network guy is actually trying to take the packet from one place. He is trying to reach to your place, by the way. Now, your place is an individual home, then it will deliver to your home and he will live. But however, your home is a so is a multi-level building. Okay, that means so 100 floors, 200 floors, something like that is there. Okay, then where to give? Okay, or maybe 100 flats, 200 flats is there in the same address, in one address. Now let's say there are 100 flats, 200 flats are there. Now where to provide, by the way, the packet? Now where to deliver, by the way, there should be an appropriate information even inside that. After address, it should also have some door number also, like generally in apartments it will happen, right? Not only to reach to the address, but then the apartment flat number or something like that matters to reach there. Now the delivery guy has to, in order to give it, it is needed, right? So that is where, okay, so that is where the same problem actually is coming to the servers as well. Now, when you take an IP address, there's a big server, by the way. The server is not meant for one thing, by the way. Server can do many things. Okay, and server should be allowed to do many things, or basically like it by design. Again, 50 years back, if you go in the design itself, so server by default they deal with in such a way that it is a multi thing it will do. Okay, not a single thing. So that's how they started the things. And so that's where the server will do many things. So now the single address can have many things to do. Now if like let's say if three different type of services you are hosting on one server, like let's say you're hosting an app server, you're hosting a database server, okay, or you're hosting some other service, like let's say network service, blah 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 blah, so many services, whatever is the FTP service, okay, whatever it is, so many services you're configuring on that particular server. Now these guys need to reach to the same server. Now the connection should go in a way that, okay, the connection should go in such a way that the connection should go in such a way that, so reaching to that particular address. Okay, so reaching to that particular address with some appropriate information, right? You need to, the client, now my putty need to reach to the server with the proper information. What is the proper information is reaching? If you observed, by the way, the putty, open the putty, on the right side, you will immediately see something called as port number 22. You're giving an IP address only, but on the right side, there is something called as port number 22. Okay, the same way, now if I go and try to, okay, so check it out. Okay, this is the ports, by the way, and the port range on the servers is the port range, not on the server, by the way, on of any operating system is the port ranges from the port range is from 0 to 65,535. Okay, every server, even my laptop, your Windows desktop also, okay, will have a ports from 0 to 65,535 ports. These many ports it will open. It can open, not it will, it can open. Okay, or it can, these many connections or these many, not connections, these many services you can run, kind of thing. Of course, you don't run, but just as a number, you have that. Okay, so I mean, this is nowhere related to, especially to the Linux world or something like that. This is a very general OS thing, by the way, operating system thing. If you are interested, okay, so I mean, talk about, learn about, so something about like, what are ports in operating system. You can read that information. Maybe some half an hour you spend and kind of understand and gain the information, by the way. General understanding. This is a quite general understanding that, how the things are working. It's nowhere it's related to the DevOps course, but we're just reiterating the things here. Okay, maybe some people never been looked into that dimension of the things you are using. Okay, but however, yeah. So this is the point. So now, okay, these many port ranges. So now out of this port number 22 is actually, open on the server so that someone can reach it. Now, if the port is open on the server, then it will cross the firewall and you can hit the server, by the way. Okay, now how do you check whether the ports are open or not? So netstat will help you, but netstat will show you long list of information, but which I may not need it, by the way. So netstat, what I'll do is hyphen, I want only the listening ports, by the way, hyphen L I'll give, and hyphen L also, I just need only the, okay, so just the, I mean, proper network information only. So then that's where T will come into picture. It's a TCP. So TCP stands for networking. Okay, and Unix and other things also will be there. So we don't want that. So we want TCP only. So now you can see this, these are the ports which are open. But if you want to see the number, by the way, so the LTN you can view, then you can see that, so these are the numbers. Now, if you want to see the process also, which is associated to this, then you can view netstat-lntp, LTNP, whatever it is. Okay, NP also you can give. So then it will tell you which is the process associated to that. A normal user can't do that. So that's where you can use sudo. Now in this particular system, so there are many ports open. You can say this. It's telling like this. Now if I want to access this particular ports which is running on this particular server, now let's say I'm going to take the same server and I'll keep it. This is anyhow the web port. So that's where I'm using web browser :8080. I will not be able to reach. But why? Because now your putty is actually, allowed on the firewall on the port number 22 to reach the server, but my browser is actually trying to access the server over 8080. The port is open. No, right? The port is not open. So what you need to do is you click on this security group, which is called as firewall. Click on that, and now you can add and modify the rules. Edit inbound rules, add rule. Okay, so now what is the port number? 8080. To whom you want to allow? I want to allow anyone across the world. So I allowed it. Now, since I allowed it, okay, now if I go to the browser and if I hit on the same server once again, okay, then I should be able to get the web page. Unless if it is something is not working on 8080. I'm not sure. But at least you should get some response. At least you get a response saying bad input or something should come. Yeah, it's come. Just took firewall change, took a little time. That's it. But I'm getting some response. That's okay. I'm getting, hey, you're doing wrong. Yes, I'm doing wrong. I don't know what is that 8080. I just hit it and I'm getting something. Okay. So this is how it is going to be. All right. So you will be having a firewall before to the server. You need to ensure you are opening the ports, and also on the server side, you need to ensure the port is open. Okay, but how do you check the port is open? Netstart -lntp. So second networking command, which is important for us, is netstat. The options are lntp. However, the order you give, it works. Right? So this is how you're actually reaching to the servers. Any questions? And one more small thing before taking the question. Now you're hitting google.com. That means you're not giving any port number like how I have given :8080 or something. So the default port is there. The web browser always uses that particular port to reach to the destination. Like putty is actually, so showing you I'm always using 22 port. Web browser always uses 80 port and 443 port. To reach to the destination, by the way, you know, to exclusively give that. Okay, so that's what the client is doing. Yeah. Any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah. So in the diagram, right, you say that AWS hello, right, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So where that whitelisting of IP address comes into picture if it allows everybody?
The whitelisting is nothing. The whitelisting of what you have done is allow everybody. Now, what is that?
Yeah. Because if AWS is always hello, right, then what is the point of whitelisting somebody? Because what I'm saying is that public IP, right, when it is accessing my application, or my application or someone is hosted in the public cloud, whereas someone hosted in the private cloud. So to communicate these two, it will not allow until unless we whitelisted public IPs to our private IPs, cloud kind of thing. Then only the communication will happen, even though it is AWS. But when you say allow everybody, then what is the point of whitelisting the IP address? Then only it will allow to access my application.
I mean, how is it? How is it difference is the question which I'm asking. You are already telling the answer itself, right? So you need to whitelist in order to access it. Agree?
Correct. But
Listen. Simple. Let's answer the cross questions. Okay.
uh,
So you agree with the statement that unless until you whitelist, it will not work. Agree?
correct, it will not allow.
Now, whitelisting can be like everyone or someone. Agree?
Correct.
Now you're talking about someone. I'm talking about everyone. That's it. It's again still same, right? There's no difference. What you told is right again.
Now, can you go to the picture? Basically, not here, the diagram.
Sure. Okay.
So when I say that general, it is yellow or deny, but AWS yellow kind of thing, right? So it don't it have deny also AWS?
Doesn't have deny.
That's what. So it don't have any deny kind of thing. So it will always yellow, right? Then what is the point of whitelisting? It will yellow always anyhow.
I mean, that's what like again you're talking the same thing. You're just looking in a little different dimension. That's it. Still
Okay.
same thing only. Now let's say there are 100 IPs. The general firewalls will come in a way that so where you purchase some firewalls devices, those devices will have a functionality of even you have a deny option also. That means only this IP you don't allow. Okay. So and only like let's say 100 IPs are there, you allow 99 IPs, but this one guy you deny. Okay. But
Okay.
Amazon is telling that, so now you want allow 99, by the way, you write 99 allow, by the way. Okay. Now you try to understand, by the way, there are 100 IPs.
Mhm.
Okay. Now you can write two firewall rules in general one that allow everyone, but only this guy you deny.
Mm.
Okay. Two rules there you're writing. But in Amazon, you're going to write 99 rules allowing 99 IPs.
Oh.
Okay. But anyhow, that is a different
It's
story.
a,
But That's a different story. In the example I told you right now, it looks like a little bit difficult job to manage, but don't worry on that particular aspect. There are other things to deal with that. If you really want to deny something, you can deny still. Okay. But not with the firewall which come for the server. There are other type of approaches. There are other type of services which is not services, features which is offered. With those particular thing, okay, we can deal with that. Not here now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Raghu, as you said, Amazon allows 99 users, but here I want to allow some particular users.
You can allow. If you know their IP address, you can allow. For example, if I want to only allow my IP address, so what is my IP address? I got my IP address is this one somewhere, just previous one. This is my IP address, right? I want to allow only my IP address, like no one else you want to allow. So you can just need to go and give that particular IP address. That's it. So allow 22 only for this guy. Okay. So you have to give /32. What is this /32 and all? You'll understand later. But for now, a single IP will be with /32. You give it and save the rule. So that means you're allowing only one guy. You remove this, by the way.
So when I give the by giving customer, I mean custom a particular IP address of the user, so I can allow the particular users.
Yes.
So the remaining 90 users can not access, right?
Correct.
Yeah, hi Raghu. So, is my statement correct that AWS will deny everyone unless we are not mentioning whom to allow?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other options or any other questions? Okay.
Hello. Can you show the diagram? Here you said that 1:1 ratio in Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in our home there will be 1:n number of devices.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please once
So now let's say you have 3 laptops in your home. Are you taking 3 internet connections or 1 internet connection?
only one?
So one is to n.
Okay. For one connection we are using n number of devices.
Yeah. So here one IP by default, what's happening in Amazon right now? You're taking one IP, you can give it only to one server. Same one IP, you can't give it to multiple servers.
So for every server we will be taking another connection, right?
Correct.
Hello.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So mostly those are the commands that I wanted to talk about. So there are 2 commands, IP space A and IP space A, and as well as netstat command is the 2 commands majorly we want to talk about. There are a couple of commands like telnet and some nslookup. when the requirement comes in, we talk about, it doesn't fall under our requirements so far now. Okay, we'll park that and we'll move on for now. So this is what it is. Now let's try to iterate what all we have learned in Linux. Okay, so these are the commands you started learning, by the way. So commands wise something. So ls is the command we started with, pwd, cd command, touch command. Okay, so mkdir, rm cp command, mv command we talked about, editor we talked about, filter commands we talked about, a curl command to browse and download, some commands to extract the things, pipes as a concept we talked about, started with AWS creating the servers, and the ps and kill command is what we talked about. Now you do need to do any administrator access, sudo, and DNF to install the packages, systemctl to manage the services, user add to add the user, and change the permissions and ownership by using chow and chgrp and chmod commands. Finally, IP space A to show the IP addresses, and that stat is to see the open ports, by the way. Okay, so maybe in a minute I told everything. So, right. So, yeah, that much is enough for us to start with the things. Okay, because we don't want to go circle around here only, because we always take this particular approach. We do agile in learning as well. Okay, so that meaning we don't want to do a waterfall model in learning. Okay, now while you are doing work on agile, let's learning also be agile. Okay, now what is waterfall model? What is agile and all? Like basically, like again, you go back to the waterfall versus okay, so agile, if you look in, so the go back, it's a methodology, like it's a methodology that project is reaching to the destination, you're learning to reach the destination, is as simple as that. Okay, so there is nothing too much. So it's basically like so you should be looking towards waterfall. Now waterfall means, okay, so you gather all the requirements and probably you start learning the things, right? And ultimately by end of this one you will be completing. But what we do is we'll do little agile way, not exactly in this pattern, by the way, but still it's in between waterfall and agile kind of a thing, I would say. Okay, so not exactly agile or not exactly waterfall. So what we generally do is in agile there is a concept called as MVP. Okay, minimal viable product. Now what we do here is basically, so if for a company, if they want to get onto if they want to get onto the market, what is the minimum MVP which is needed to get onto the market? So MVP, this is very important one as well. A general purpose also you need to understand. Now this is how you evolve, right? So kind of a thing. Like generally in a funny way, by the way. So it's just like so this is MVP. This is not considered as MVP. Okay, so yeah, may not be really required to our requirement. So kind of a thing you understand, by the way. So now rather than just talking about all the topics at once and doing that, the project at the ending will not help you in more. At least in my mindset, it will not help me. Okay, or how I learned, by the way, it will not work out for me, by the way. Now you go to your your colleges and all, they'll teach you a lot of theory in your semesters. At the end they'll give you a project, by the way, so do that, and that how are you doing it, right? At least you are in my session means that project you have not done really, you would have copied from someone, otherwise you would not been in my session in the very first place. Seriously. Okay, so that's a different thing, but just try to understand the pain there. So I don't like to go in that particular approach because it never worked for me. Okay, so I felt like so that's not the way it should be, and that's where we convert the whole training into agile way. So that means like we start with MVP of any tool, by the way. In order to start a tool to do the work, by the way, what are the 10 things needed? We'll do only those 10 things only. Now the remaining 100 things, that means like remaining out of 100 things, the remaining 90 things will do cycle, by the way. So we'll go to the project, we'll jump onto the project, we'll get into a requirement, we'll hit a roadblock, and we'll understand, okay, there is a solution for that, and then we'll apply that, but we'll learn that particular concept and apply that solution, we'll solve the problem, and again move on. Okay, like that we are going to learn the tools. We start with MVP, by the way. So that means to start with what is needed, we start with. Now the Linux also, I'm applying the same philosophy. To start with doing the work, what is needed, I'm taking it up. I'm never saying that this is the whole Linux. I'm never saying that, you have to learn the whole Linux. Okay. So you always need to balance the things and move on. And that's the way of approach I usually take it. And also there's another advantage you start looking in, by the way. We start with the project means you always see the requirements, by the way. Okay. Now, rather than, so talking about all the 10 theories, and I'll just come to the project and, and systematically, if I complete everything, by the way, you'll never see the problems. But whereas if you go with an MVP approach, you always hit the roadblocks. You always hit the roadblocks. Then you have to solve them. You'll do an exercise of solving them, looking at two to three different options. Okay. And you try to solutionize that. And then you'll move on. Okay. Then you have a learning there. Okay. This was the problem. And for that one, so this is a way that I achieved it. Okay. So you have an understanding, by the way. Now, rather than 10 options, 10 solutions we talk about and come to the problem, by the way, now you're always like, so I mean, that's fine that's also I'll not deny, by the way, but I don't like that approach generally. Okay. I start from MVP kind of a thing. So that is kind of a thing keeping in mind. So we will get onto the project, by the way. That's the whole context. Okay. So maybe since we don't have any time to anyhow talk about the project things and all, so we'll start with the project in the next session completely. So we start implementing the projects. We'll generally discuss about how the projects looks like, comparing with the applications, what we know generally. And so we'll take a project. So like the roadmap is telling you, I'm not sure you've seen the syllabus, but 1 minute. So in the syllabus, so first exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the project. Okay. And then okay, so get on with one project, will complete the cycle. And again, we'll come back and do the second project. So this is what we are going to do. So that's where our next session is going to be, starting with the project, by the way. All right. And mostly we can take a pause for today. That's okay. Maybe a bit early. It's fine. And that's all from my side for today. If any questions, anything related to the program or anything also like training and all, please go ahead. Otherwise, feel free to drop. We don't have anything technical things to discuss. Or any questions, please feel free to talk. And also tomorrow there won't be any session. You'll be having a session day after tomorrow. And by day after tomorrow, you'll be onboarded to the training. Okay, complete onboarding. Like your onboarding should be completed in order to access the sessions. And your onboarding will be okay. So looking like where is this? A portal. So your so your onboarding portal will look like this, by the way. And usually, okay, when you'll be onboarded into one portal, you'll get the access and all. And so generally, like so if you want to join the session, click on this and for me, it is actually coming as start, by the way. For you, it may come like join kind of a thing. You just join. That's right. So maybe I can. Anyhow, you will get to some how to do it also, you will come to know. But usually you will have when you open this, by the way, so you'll see a live session here. Okay, these are the 3 sections which will come into picture. So the training, live sessions and recordings, open that section and you'll see the live session in the very starting only. You open that particular live session and it should be fine. Okay, so and after that this session will go into the session number at the top. Okay, so just click on live session, and once after that, you just click on start button. Join button. That should be fine. Anyhow, it's all very simple only. You will get the document of how to access the portal as a part of onboarding as well. And that's all from my side for today. And the links, whatever you are using so far, will get inactive by day after tomorrow. It will not work. Yeah. Any questions? Please go ahead.
Is the app session is there tomorrow?
Lab session, sorry.
App session will continue tomorrow.
Yeah, it will be there.
Yeah, regarding the URLs, the kilo coda URL also will go, Raghu?
No, that will be there.
That will be there. Okay.
Only the
Only,
link.
only the
joining-
session link, right? Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
joining session.
And recordings and all, we will get it from the onboarding portal.
Yeah, you will get into the portal. Until today, you can still see in what YouTube as well. But however, once you get on board, you see everything there only. It's from
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Weekly 6 days or 5 days the classes. Monday to Saturday or Monday to Friday.
your voice is not coming. Your background fan or something.
Yeah. I mean, every Saturday class will be there. No? I mean,
Yeah, 6 days.
Monday, 6 days per week. Okay.
Not mandatory. So there are a couple of holidays also would come. Like let's say upcoming there's an election, general elections. A day will be off. Things will be there. That's okay. You'll be notified.
So generally 6 days a week, right?
Yes.
Raghu, as you said, you're going to teach in project. I mean, starting with a project, right? And what are all the concepts going to use or help in that project? In that way, you're going to teach, right? Or concept wise, you are going to teach.
We'll go by project.
Okay.
That's what we'll do.
Okay.
Anyone? Any other questions? All good? No questions?
Yeah. Hi, Ravi. Good morning.
Yeah.
Do we get email for onboarding or how?
Yes. You will get.
Okay. Thanks.
If you did not got getting also, please check with your organizer. Whoever is giving you these links, just check with them, text them, or talk to them.
Okay.
Don't see any hands. Hope everyone is clear with everything. Any general questions also, please go ahead. We have some time.
Hi, Raghu here. So, what we are trying to learn here is from the DevOps engineer perspective, right? For example, like, I mean, if we consider AWS networking concepts, or just like we have VPC as well, right? But we are not going to touch entire stuff in that AWS VPC or networking. But what is related to or in scope for a DevOps engineer, that only we are going to be focused in this training, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one more question. With this, can we attend any DevOps exam like Microsoft Azure DevOps or AWS DevOps, like with these tools and
Don't confuse with the words, by the way. So it is Azure DevOps is a tool. AWS DevOps is a group of services that they offer, by the way. Okay. Now, yeah, AWS DevOps makes sense, right? So being now you are by learning this, by the way, DevOps is a process and you understand the whole process. Now, probably then you go to AWS DevOps course or taking that exam makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
Azure DevOps is a whole different tool, by the way. It's not a like AWS DevOps certification. ADO is a tool. Okay. So yeah, and ADO is a deprecated one. And now instead of that, you should ask like, so because especially with Azure, this confusion is there.
Hmm.
You should call it as DevOps with Azure. Okay.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
Azure DevOps. But with AWS, you don't have such tool or kind of a thing. That is fine. Because Azure DevOps, there is a tool. Yeah. That is a problem. So this is the tool. Anyhow, I usually use this tool. If you can see my screen, this is the Azure DevOps.
I get you.
Okay. So Azure DevOps is a tool which offers certain things. Yeah. And we stopped it, by the way. Even Amazon announced, sorry, not Amazon, Azure announced retirement for that, by the way. Okay. So maybe in 3-4 years, I think they're retiring. Some date is there down the line.
Okay. What would be learning for Azure if we want to get into like Azure DevOps?
Azure Cloud. Azure DevOps is a tricky word. Using
Okay.
Azure DevOps, people will understand you're talking about a tool, not a DevOps process.
Oh, okay.
Tool you're not talking about. So that's where with Azure, you always use DevOps with Azure Cloud, you say.
Okay.
And that's where people gain the context.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Raghu.
Yes, Amit.
Raghu, just wanted to ask one thing, like as you told, like we'll be learning in the project phase, right? So in that particular project perspective, whatever Jenkins, whatever Ansible, Python, whatever is required, we'll be teaching up to that point of view only, right? We won't go on tool by tool basis. We will be going by the project by project basis.
Project requirements, yes.
Okay. So and this will go in the iteration, right? Like whatever is required at that particular moment of that particular tool, we'll be learning at that moment.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
And that is natural also, by the way. So you can't keep a pulley stop in a way that, so the things always, I mean, requirement changes, the landscape changes, the things need to be changed. And going by tool will never help you also in generally in talking also. Why? Because let me just show you like, so one of the ongoing batch kind of a thing. So now if you go in here, so maybe like, I kind of a thing, like let's say Ansible, if you go with the roadmap as well, in the roadmap, by the way, Ansible, we start in the very starting of the thing. Okay. So now let's say when the very starting, I kind of like, let's say that I'm done with Ansible and I'll move on. By the way, later requirements, if you come in, so how are you going to address that? Right? Basically, if you go in that approach, like, so everything you don't do integrations, by the way, especially. For an example, so here Ansible comes in the very starting. Now, somewhere we are actually in the CI/CD concept now. Now, CI/CD is actually telling me to do some modifications on Ansible. Okay. So if I go with the tool by tool, so kind of a thing, we may keep a pull stop. And again, that depends upon the person who is delivering, how they are delivering, and all different things are there. Now, if you look in, by the way, so this is happened on maybe let's say March 6th. The initial introduction of Ansible is happening on March 6th. Now, till today, I'm doing the modifications. Even on April 27, I'm doing the modification. Even after a month also, when the things are improving, by the way, I have to adopt and, I have to implement. And also we'll write an SOP, like, so okay, so our role is what actually we're talking about. We will not deviate the SOP, by the way. So that's where this whole training becomes too complex as well for learning, by the way, because it's not going to be easy. Okay, my training, at least I'll not take you easy path, by the way. Okay, because that's not easy actually. Your roles are not easy in the organization. It's a lot of pain, by the way. And that's where a lot of people a lot of people failing in the market that, they learn the things but they're not able to get the things because One of the reason is where, I mean, the way the delivery is always simple, by the way. So, and here, like the SOP, I'm clearly writing it out, like your role is automation effort. And according to that, I'll write a SOP also in the session. Okay, in the training, this is an ongoing batch wala. And if you go in here, I'll clearly write a SOP where I have written the SOP. I'll not deviate the SOP. Where I have written SOP. SOP means standard operating procedure. Okay, this very will be there. This will be quite common in the organizations. SOPs will be there. In SOPs, according to the SOP, you will do that. Okay, process. Now, all the automation you should run in GoCD. All the automation in the OS you should go with Ansible. All the infra automation go with Terraform. This is a project SOP. Now, anything you do it is whatever is agreed, by the way, you should be doing it, right? You can't go and do the things manually. So we'll write a SOP, and with this particular SOP only, the whole training will get complex. Okay, now, okay, so I mean, maybe I can do a small click and my whole job can be done, like for an example. Okay, but doing that small click also will try to automate. That brings a lot of complexity, kind of a thing. Okay, so now maybe like, let's say for an example, in the same thing, by the way, now after CI/CD we talk about. Okay, I'm not sure. I mean, generally, so it can deliver in many ways, by the way. But when I go with the CI/CD, so after releasing a software, I want to trigger the, so I want to trigger the pipeline as well accordingly, by the way. So now I can simply go on to the UI and do a click and it will be done, like happy path, no problem. You will also do that. But however you go in the organization, it has to be a complete end-to-end view. And that's where the complexity will come. So at least I've been, so spending another batch, by the way, last 2 days, so to setting up that particular integration. That integrations is the complex. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say, by the way. So it's all about, so we take a requirement, we look at the full context. Now, at a point of time, you may need to touch 10 tools. We touch 10 tools. No other option. So the project tells the requirement that way, we'll go that way. Yeah, hope I answered a very lengthy answer, but you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raghu, this is outside of question, but is that okay to proceed?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I see, just now I saw Azure DevOps. So are you teaching on Azure side also?
No, I just shown that I use Azure DevOps and not telling that I teach Azure DevOps. Why
No,
I'm
no.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
Okay.
1 minute. Okay, I used to teach Azure DevOps as well. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
not now, by the way. So now the batch is going on is maybe 79th batch. I maybe sometime in, so 48th batch I started. Okay, teaching. This is at least like, so 5 years back, I would say. Okay, so not now. Okay, why I am not doing that? Because we clearly told, by the way, I am inspiring the content from the roadmap, DevOps roadmap, which is from roadmap.sh. So there's a lot of people actually telling how is it going with the market. Now, back in days, there used to be a suggestion saying like, Azure DevOps here. Okay, Azure DevOps services is there, right? So it used to be a suggestion. It used to be a purple color. But Azure itself has, so announced a retirement date for this. Now there is no point in learning, right?
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
That's
even
why
in my project, Azure DevOps, we are migrating. So, but I'm not sure what is the exact reason. So, if you know, could you please tell
the
me?
retirement. It's a product retirement.
Oh, okay, got
Microsoft announced a retirement to that product. There's no point in
okay.
going further to that product. So, and they are promoting GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is there. We have GitHub Actions in our training. That's it.
Okay, thank
If,
you.
yeah. If tomorrow this guy come and change, like let's say, and by end of this month, if this guy is changing this one, and in my next batch, my course will change. Simple.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Raghu.
So, and once again, just before closing this today's session, I'm clearly calling it out once again, please. Okay, training wise, training wise, I'll keep my maximum efforts, and I've been doing that, by the way. And also we'll go with a little extra mile all the time. Okay, that gives a lot of complexity. Okay, so, and that means your next few days, that means like next 3 to 4 months of your life is going to be very hard only with me. Okay, so you have to accept that, and you should come out of that, by the way. So by overcoming that, by the way, with a lot of practice. The only ask from my side from you is keep time and ensure you practice well. Rest of the things I'll take care. Okay, so that's just minimum ask. And if you are not having time to practice, and if you are joining this session, I think it's time for you to rethink, by the way. Without practice, you can't sustain in my training at all. Okay, so because you may sustain context wise, by the way, but without a practice will not. I usually see some people like, okay, fine, I know, so this week I was busy, I'll skip the last week topic and I'll start with this week topic and I'll move on. Okay, so these kind of things will not work out in my training. It has to be a brick by brick how you construct your home. It will be like that only. It's a pure engineering way I'll deal with it. Okay, so skipping first floor, you can't build second floor. Okay, so without pillar you can't do the things. So that's where consistent practice will be needed, is expected from you. And second thing is, don't compete with me. I see a lot of people compete with me. Okay, so you don't need to compete with me. That means maybe I'm teaching the 30th session, let's say. You are only on the practice on the 10th session. Still fine. I don't have any problem with that. Okay, but I'm hoping that when you're in the 10th session, the first 9 sessions, you are quite comfortable and there's no gap in that. That is what is the expectation. Okay, and in the training, I'll write a lot of code. Don't try to simply copy paste the code. Copy paste the code means right click copy, right click paste is not only the copy paste. Pausing the screen and so just blindly writing the code is also a copy paste. The code has to come out of your thought process. Okay, so just you need to follow these particular practices, and initial days may be a bit difficult. Agree. Okay, so course is not fair with you on comfort, by the way. Okay, so it is tough because market is tough only, like, so I'm not sure how easily you're getting jobs today, right? So it's, you go to tomorrow an interview and say that, so I have worked on very simple things and give me a job. At least I will not give a job to anyone, by the way. And I will not ask anyone also to give me a simple job as well. If there isn't a difficulty, I don't even go there, by the way. Okay, because there is no point. I can't prove, right? So the competition is more. If you want to go to the less competition world, that means you have to, you should have enough content with you to compete, right? So that means like you're crossing the competition. That means you should have more content. Okay, so that means like where you have a problem, you have a chance to prove. Where you don't have a problem, everything is a happy path. There you can't grow at all, by the way, in the very first place, right? People miss the very simple logic on this particular. So everyone want a happy path. They want to be like 1 out of 99%, but not the 1 of 99, right? So individual one. So just think in that particular perspective. Now, when you appear for a job like that, I know a lot of people coming over here for a job perspective or a career change, right? So job is if your job is the one that you are considering, that means you appear for a job the job has to be yours. Otherwise, don't appear at all in the very first place. Why do you need to play with why do you do a lot of playing, by the way, in the job? You appear for a job, the job has to be yours. And I don't know how much practice you have to make it for that, right? It all depends upon the individual. Okay, so for me, okay, so for me, like, so 16, 17 hours a day, okay, I'm able to survive. Okay, so maybe for you 24 hours also it has to come. Okay, or maybe 24 hours is not possible, but just maybe some extended days it can become, by the way. Okay, but don't just time bound or don't compete with me that, Raghu is moving on with many topic, I can't compete. Don't worry on that particular aspect. You come slow, and while you come slow, you ensure session by session you move on, you have the clear context. Okay, then you move on. Otherwise, you ask many questions, no problem. There's a lab query session. People come in and simply share the screen on our face and tell me the problem. But what are you learning, by the way, there? I can solve the problems. Okay, but rather than that, you come to me, okay, hey, this is the thing I'm trying to do. Okay, so this is what I have done, this is what I have done, this is what I have done. Okay, now this is what I have done, by the way, it is not working. Okay, so then these are the things I have done, okay, by the way, to solve this, but still I'm not able to identify, is what my understanding correct or not? That is the cross questioning is the right thing that you should do, by the way. simply sharing the screen and solving the problem, you will not have any learning at all. Trust me, by the way, whoever has done in a way that I tell you, by the way, so I mean, they can, they can just get the things much faster. Maybe initially they look slow, that's okay, but over a period of time they become a much matured way of thinking, by the way. Okay, because tomorrow, like, so you join an organization as well, like, you simply go and share a screen to someone and solve the problem. He will also, one time, two times, he'll solve the problem. Third time, he'll also skip you, right? But rather than that, you need to take it as a discussion. Okay, this is my problem, these are the things I have done. Okay, is my thought process right or not? Is there anything wrong? Is there any direction you can give? So that is the right way of talking, right? So communication is very important. So in that context only you look in. So at least that means I'm seeding the context into your mind that you need to practice a couple of times before arising that there is a problem, by the way. Simply coming to me will solve the problem. There's a person out there, he will solve your problem, he'll not put any cross question to you, but you are cheating yourself. Okay, you are convincing yourself, by the way. That's the biggest problem. Don't do that. So training is going to be a little bit tough comparing with others. I would say maybe there may be other persons who is giving even a more hard, I don't know, but at least my training, I would say, like, it's not going to be there, like how YouTubers say that 0 to hero in 1 hour, 7 hours is not possible. I mean, a lot of people, like some students come back to me saying that so or whenever we're just in the market, right? So that fellow is giving for 1 month training, yeah, I mean, you as a fellow, maybe like you are giving for 3.5 months, why are you doing that? Like, so some person is giving for, half of the price of what you are doing, why are you taking this much price? Okay, now before asking these questions, you should evaluate, like, what is happening there, what is happening here. That is not the things you are comparing, right? So only simple things only you are comparing, right? So, and also I will tell you, by the way, so there's a very hot truth which is going on in the market, especially with the Indian market, by the way. Like in a way that so the youngsters are not doing well. Okay, they are mentally not doing well. That's what is our understanding, especially because like this year 2024 they have, I mean, GitHub has released one analytics, by the way, so saying top countries who is contributing on GitHub. And surprisingly, where is India's place? 6th or 7th place it is. Okay, I can show that report 1 minute. You will be surprised. I know I'm just generally talking because I have some time. Imagine yourself, like, where are you putting yourself in the world? So that that is very important. Where is this URL? Screening share? No. Yeah. So you can see this, the fast growing countries of software development. So as per 2023, by the way, I mean, from GitHub released the data, by the way, tracking the country's developer things. You see the surprise, what's going on here? Okay. So our neighbor countries are doing well. Bangladesh, 66%, Pakistan, 42%, Singapore, not 7th place, this 5th place, sorry. So you see this? Now, what our people are doing, I really don't know. What they are doing, I mean, I'm not saying that everyone to be on the software tech side, but at least comparing the market, by the way, there's an enough people who is actually doing the software engineering in their academics, by the way. Now, comparing with the strength of, I mean, country strength, by the way, Bangladesh, what is the strength? And India's strength is what? Singapore's strength, what is the Singapore strength? right? Singapore is not even a city, it is equivalent to, okay, our small cities, by the way, right? And what people are doing. Now imagine yourself, by the way, okay? So this is a very bad thing. So please ensure, okay, so you contribute the things to yourself, by the way, that means like practice. Okay, don't go with the, okay, and one of the observation, like, so I mean, in some of the things is happening is, the problem is, the mischievous YouTube. YouTube is very good platform. YouTube was very good platform, and even YouTube is still good platform. But the people you following is not the good people. That's the problem. Okay, so even for me also, like the moment I open YouTube and all, I mean, it bombards with me many things, by the way, which I unwanted things. Okay, so unwanted things only it will try to bombard, by the way. And YouTube search is a kind of is a screwed one. Okay, when I try to open YouTube, so a lot of things will come. Okay, some people are very good content creators, no doubt in that. Okay, no doubt in that. But a lot of people actually just, for the sake of, for the sake of videos only, it all goes on the thumbnail market. In YouTube, we call it as thumbnail market. Okay, now you see this guy is a very good guy. I like this guy. I mean, so being a very kid, actually, this guy is a very kid, but I like this guy. Okay, but see how his thumbnail is actually, he's trying to kind of make your life that, so you jump there and your life is easy. Not talking about, so that all the things that, I mean, these guys need to run the YouTube show because that's their bread and butter. Now, whoever says that, this is a free course, but end of the day, they are putting some revenue in the background, by the way. Okay, so running on YouTube, we know the show, right? So you may not running the YouTube, like you may not know the show, but so don't just go with the thumbnail thing. Okay, follow a person, okay, who actually gives the proper content. Okay, and especially in Indian market, because a lot of Indians are here. I'm just talking like in Indian market, I don't see any person doing very well content on the, especially on the DevOps side. So those are just talk about, so just for the sake of their side income only. They don't bother about you, because here we are actually bothering about side income. We are taking your income. I mean, we are getting paid, by the way. At least we are responsible. They are irresponsible people only, right? So a lot of paid comments and all will go on. So just don't go with don't go with all those things. And okay, so just don't get like, so life is easy. It's not easy. DevOps is a serious thing that you will do. And again, being a luck, you may get a simple project as well. But market is really bad right now. You should be in a very good shape to survive in that particular bad market. So that's the only thing I'm calling it out. Going back to the starting point is, please, if you are having any opinion on, without a practice, I can be on this particular session. So please be a guest here only. Okay, don't try to be here, because later I would always, okay, so ask you a cross question. Did you try this option, that option, and things like that, going forward in the questions as well. Okay, you should be able to give the context at least, right? So no need to tell the exact option. Okay, there is something, right? So I know that there's something. So that context is very important. So that's where I expect only the time from you. Rest of the things I'll take care. So once again, you'll be onboarded to the day after tomorrow session. Please ensure you get an onboarding email and get onboarded, by the way. Okay, to join the next session. Please adjust your timings, your days for the next 4 months, having at least 4 or 5 hours. Where do you adjust? You write down maybe on a paper, you write down what is your schedule, by the way, and where you need to adjust, you will come to know. Okay. So time management is the only success. Your hard work will not take you to success. Okay. Your luck will not take you to the success. Is only the time management will take you to the success. Managing all the hard work and luck and all, everything. Okay. All effort and all. So managing the time management is the only thing. So the moment you open the YouTube, now I opened my YouTube. Have you seen any entertainment syllabus here? Okay. Nothing, no entertainment. At least I don't get any entertainment here. Right. So either it is tech, is motivation, okay, or some sort of business things. Mostly these are the 3 areas of my interest, and my YouTube is still suggesting those things only. Some podcasts, generally we here go through some podcasting. That's it, right? So that means like YouTube works in an algorithm in a way that how you are thinking, by the way, they'll try to suggest that. Are you thinking that way or not? Your YouTube homepage, it will tell you that, what you are thinking, by the way. Okay. So please keep all that particular things aside. How much screen time you are wasting. Okay. It will, like, maybe your mobile will help you how much screen time you are making. Don't try to make it more than an hour a day. Okay. So please ensure all the things you follow, by the way, utilize the time, and then you will be in good shape. That's all. Anyone feel free to drop. Yeah, just drop.
Can you please confirm the timings of Q&A sessions?
So it is 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indian time.
1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Lab and Q&A both are the same, right?
Sorry?
That is the lab timings, right? 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
No, it's not lab timings, by the way. If you have any question, while now after this session, you start doing the practice. If you have any question, you can join during that time and you ask your question. You don't have any question, you don't need to join.
Okay. This is also weekly 6 days.
That is 7 days.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So see you in the next session. Bye. Good day.